Wong Kar-wai is one of those directors where even if you've only seen one of his movies, you instantly recognize his style. The saturated colors, the dreamy cinematography, the step printing, the slow motion shots, the longing, the loneliness, the feeling that every character is chasing something they can never quite hold on to. Today, I'm ranking all 11 of Wong Kar-wai's feature films. This list does not include his short films or the television series Blossom Shanghai, which I still haven't seen. I will, however, be including the theatrical version of The Hand, which is feature-length and deserves a place in the conversation. This is obviously just my personal ranking, so if your list looks completely different, that's part of the fun. Let's get into it. Number 11, My Blueberry Nights. Wong Kar-wai's first English-language film is probably his most divisive. Starring Norah Jones, Jude Law, Natalie Portman, and Rachel Weisz, it's a road trip romance that takes many of the themes Wong had explored throughout his career and places them in an American setting. I actually think this movie is better than its reputation suggests. There are some beautiful landscapes, some memorable performances, and it still carries the loneliness and romantic yearning that defines so much of Wong's work. That being said, it never quite reaches the emotional heights of his best films. The atmosphere is there, but some of the magic feels diluted. It's a solid movie and one that's worth revisiting, but compared to the rest of his catalog, something had to land at the bottom. Number 10, The Hand. The Hand is probably one of Wong Kar-wai's least seen projects, which is a shame because there's a lot to appreciate here. The story follows a young tailor and his complicated relationship with a high-class courtesan, and it's one of Wong's most mature and restrained films. Rather than relying on the frantic energy of some of his earlier work, this film moves with confidence and patience. The emotional payoff is strong, the performances are excellent, and the relationship at the center of the story feels surprisingly moving. It may not have the iconic status of some of his larger films, but it's a rewarding watch and deserves more attention than it gets. Number 9, The Grandmaster. Seeing Wong Kar-wai tackle a martial arts epic was fascinating. The Grandmaster tells the story of Ip Man and explores both martial arts history and the cultural changes taking place in China during a turbulent period of the 20th century. The fight scenes are incredible. Whether it's the rain-soaked opening battle or the confrontations set around train stations and snowy streets, every action sequence feels uniquely Wong Kar-wai. What elevates the film for me is the emotional undercurrent running beneath all of the action. It's less interested in victory than in legacy, sacrifice, and paths not taken. Even if some of the historical details can be difficult to follow, the atmosphere and emotion carry the film a long way. Number 8, Ashes of Time. Ashes of Time feels like Wong Kar-wai taking the traditional wuxia film and filtering it through a dream. The desert landscapes are stunning, the cinematography is gorgeous, and many of the visual techniques that would later define his style are already present here. The film can be confusing. There are multiple storylines, numerous characters, and a deliberately fragmented narrative. But honestly, that's part of the experience. It's melancholic, beautiful, and often tragic. Even when you aren't completely sure where the story is heading, the mood alone makes it worth watching. Number 7, As Tears Go By. Wong's directorial debut already contains many of the ideas that would define the rest of his career. On the surface, it's a crime drama about loyalty, ambition, and life in the Hong Kong underworld. But beneath that, you can already see the romanticism, the visual experimentation, and the emotional vulnerability that would become his trademark. The relationship between Wah and Fly gives the movie its heart. Fly's desperate need to prove himself leads to some genuinely painful moments, and the ending remains one of the strongest conclusions in Wong's filmography. It's rougher than his later work, but that's part of its charm. Number 6, Days of Being Wild. This is the movie where Wong Kar-wai truly became Wong Kar-wai. Days of Being Wild introduces many of the themes that would define his career: identity, loneliness, unattainable love, and characters drifting through life searching for connection. The plot is intentionally loose, almost secondary to the emotions being explored. What makes the film memorable is the collection of fascinating characters and the atmosphere surrounding them. It feels like the blueprint for much of what would come later. Number 5. Happy Together. Happy Together remains one of Wong Kar-wai's most important films. Following a turbulent relationship between two men living in Argentina, the film explores love, obsession, dependency, and the difficulty of moving on. The performances are incredible, and the relationship feels painfully authentic. Wong captures both the highs and lows of intimacy in a way few directors can. The final stretch of the film is especially powerful, ending on a note that feels hopeful without being simplistic. Even if it isn't one of my personal favorites, it's easy to understand why so many people consider it one of his best. Number 4. 2046. 2046 feels like Wong Kar-wai at his most ambitious. Part romance, part science fiction, part meditation on memory and regret, it's a movie that's constantly shifting between reality and imagination. The production design is stunning, the imagery is unforgettable, and the emotional core hits hard. Every character seems trapped by the past, unable to let go of memories that continue to shape their lives. It's one of his most visually impressive films, and arguably one of his most emotionally devastating. Number 3. In the Mood for Love. I know a lot of people would put this at number 1, and honestly I completely understand why. In the Mood for Love is one of the most beautiful films ever made. The cinematography is flawless, the performances are incredible, and the film communicates longing better than almost anything else I've ever seen. What makes it so powerful is what it doesn't show. Every glance, every hallway conversation, every missed opportunity carries enormous emotional weight. It's a masterpiece. It just happens to be a masterpiece that I personally connect with slightly less than my top 2. Number 2. Fallen Angels. Fallen Angels was my introduction to Wong Kar-wai, and it completely changed the way I looked at cinema. Everything that makes his style unique feels amplified here. The wide-angle photography, the chaotic energy, the neon-lit streets, the step printing, the sense that every frame exists somewhere between a dream and reality. The film is funny, sad, romantic, lonely, and strangely beautiful all at the same time. Some of the imagery has never left my mind, and every time I revisit it, I discover something new. Number 1. Chungking Express. For me, this is Wong Kar-wai's masterpiece. Chungking Express captures everything that makes his work special. The energy, the melancholy, the romance, the humor, the visual style, it's all here. The film follows characters searching for connection in a crowded city, and somehow manages to feel both deeply personal and universally relatable. The use of music, especially California Dreamin', is iconic. The performances are unforgettable. The atmosphere is unmatched. Most importantly, it's endlessly rewatchable. Every time I put it on, I find myself getting pulled back into its world. It's the movie that best captures everything I love about Wong Kar-wai as a filmmaker, and that's why it takes my number 1 spot. But that's just my ranking. Let me know your favorite Wong Kar-wai film in the comments, and if your list looks completely different, I'd love to hear why. Thanks for watching.